This podcast is sponsored by valleygivesback.org. What will you be remembered for? Name a Valley nonprofit in your estate plan and create a legacy that tells future generations what mattered to you. Making a gift that costs nothing during your lifetime is easy and revocable if things change. With a planned gift, you have the power to impact the Valley forever without affecting your current lifestyle. Your action inspires others to make a difference in their own way. Remember the Valley. Ask your accountant, financial planner, or attorney about planned giving options. Plan now. Give later. Impact tomorrow. Learn more at valleygivesback.org.
For hundreds of years we've brought you the news. Printed the info, we gave you the clues. Owners' profits were always sky high. Changing market now threatens our lives. Post-literation, critical reading, dumbed down nation, signs have been breeding. TV sucking ideas from our head. Public discourse just about dead. We'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur.
Hey everybody, welcome to Navel Gazing, the Valley Indy's weekly podcast. My name is Eugene Driscoll. I'm a reporter with valleyindy.org. Joining me on the line via Facebook Messenger is Ethan Fry. Hello, Ethan.
Hello.
Are you comfortable using Facebook, given all the trash that's come out about them in the last couple of days?
I mean, they certainly have some room for improvement.
They own us essentially. We can't live without them. We're part of we're Facebook junkies. Unfortunately, they got us in their web. So anyway, we hate you, Facebook. All right,
we're not hiring anybody to call our critics. Claim that our critics are financed by George Soros, though. So we got that going for us.
We invite our critics onto this podcast.
Exactly.
Called Navel Gazing, and this is, in the spirit of our title, a true navel. Actually, we're peering into Paul Bass's navel this week, which I've always wanted to do. Paul Bass is a longtime Connecticut journalist, New Haven specifically. He is the editor of the New Haven Independent, our sister site or mother site, I guess, might be more accurate.
The mothership.
Yeah, he helped birth us with the Knight Foundation and the Valley Community Foundation before we launched in 2009, and he's the executive director of the Online Journalism Project. Why are we talking about Paul Bass, who we didn't invite on this show? We're talking about our boss, and we didn't invite him on. But he wrote a story that published, I guess, Friday. We're recording this on Friday, technically it posted Thursday, I guess, Thursday afternoon. And the title is Obama, quote, diversifies, unquote, Young Dems photo. So I think maybe, Ethan, what I'll do right off the bat is just read the article so there's complete context here.
It's not too long. That's
the thing. You go back and read it, and this is essentially an extended brief. The reaction's been quite incredible given the brevity of the article. Correct my speaking grammar, if you would. You're the smart guy. Okay, here we go. A photo taken to mark the ascension of a Young Democrats leader has kicked up some racial blowback. The photo, posted Wednesday on social media and since removed by an outgoing member of the Connecticut Young Democrats, was taken at a meeting to elect a new chapter president. It shows members of the leadership present at the time. All the people pictured were white, except one, President Barack Obama. Obama wasn't there in person, and he's not a member of the Young Dems executive board. Rather, the group posed with a life-sized cardboard cutout. Before the photo was taken down, it made swift rounds among political leaders of color. And then this is a quote of a gentleman whose last name... Do you know how to pronounce his last name?
Esdale, I would guess.
Okay.
But
here
not
is...
positive.
Apologies if we're messing that up. But the quote is, "Everybody has been texting it to me all morning," said state NAACP President Scott X. Esdale. He called the posting of the photo a, quote, slap in the face, unquote, indicative of, quote, clear racism, going on in the Democratic Party, unquote. Quote, it looks like the only black they can find is a cardboard Obama. That's the perception of it. The disingenuous part is that during the election cycle, they were at all of our churches. They were putting up signs throughout our community, all of our organizations. They can find us during election season. As soon as election season is over, they can't find us, Esdale said. Okay, going on. During the election season, Esdale and others complained about what they called the rigging of a party convention to prevent congressional candidate Johanna Hayes, who was African American, from winning the support at a party convention. For winning the support of a party convention. She later won a primary and then the general election. The failure to name a person of color to the gubernatorial lieutenant governor ticket also provoked criticism. 94% of the black community voted for Governor-elect Ned Lamont in the last election cycle. This is a quote. Mid-70% of Latinos voted for him. Mid-40% of whites voted for Ned Lamont. Esdale said, we give so much to the Democratic Party. Our return on investment is despicable. The Democratic Party has to do better in the state of Connecticut. Constance Vickers, who was elected as the Connecticut Young Democrats' new president at Wednesday night's meeting at State Democratic Party headquarters in Hartford, called the affair an embarrassing misunderstanding. It was a special meeting called to elect the new president because the previous president, Kim Glassman, had resigned. She had turned 36, aging out of the role. Present and past board members who were still around after the meeting posed for the photo, Vickers said. Turns out that 4 of the board's 9 members are people of color, she said, but they happened not to be around at the time. The cardboard cutout, that was an absolute mistake, said Vickers, a 28-year-old fundraiser for nonprofit organizations. We have a cutout of Obama and Bernie Sanders that we use at a lot of events. We should not have used it in that photo. I'm sorry. We should not have used that photo. It was embarrassing for me and the board. She said the organization had not distributed the photo. Glassman had put it on her personal Facebook page. Finally, the Young Democrats will choose other new board members in April. The group plans to work with groups like the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus to ensure it has a diverse pool of candidates, Vickers said. So that's that. What do you got, the dishwasher running there in the background there, Ethan?
I just took a sip of water, sorry.
Oh, no, there was like a humming or something like that.
Oh, no, yeah, sorry, I don't know.
All right, so I just wanted to read all that because that's the article that we're going to be talking about during this podcast because we got blowback, which I didn't expect. It's not our article. We had nothing to do with it. We're part of the online journalism project. And I'll often, well, not often, but I'll link to a site from the New Haven Independent if I suspect it has some interest locally. Oh, wait. My daughter's upstairs yelling down. Not sure what she's saying.
Sounds like dinner's ready, I heard.
Oh, I see. I have headphones on. I couldn't hear that. I already ate. I got to fend for myself in this house. But anyway, all right. So let's go over real quickly, though, before we get into this, the most read stories of the week for the week that is ending Friday, November 30th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5. And let's be honest, me and Ethan sort of took a stealth vacation this week. I don't know. I feel like I have that. What is that? Seasonal mood defective?
Seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah, man. I just had a hard time.
Not that I know that too quickly.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Obviously, you must suffer from it too, because I was just like, I barely bathed this week. It was just one of those things going on.
A week after Thanksgiving, the government's not doing much, it seems, either. So.
Oh yeah, we can justify
some long-term stuff that we're working on.
But anyway, I say that because the number 5 story, I don't even think we put it on the front page of valleyindy.org, or I don't even know if we shared this on Facebook, but it was a press release from Griffin Hospital. Valley woman hits it big at the Valley Goes Pink Diamond Dig. That was the 5th most read story of the week. Number 4 was an Ethan Fry article. Vote delayed on placement of Ansonia MLK monument. That was, I thought you did a good job with that. Number 3, this was the bright spot. In general, this is a bright spot. Emmett O'Brien Technical High School honor roll was number 3. I love posting honor rolls. It's so nice to see positive reactions because we're so used to all negative stuff all the time. I love that people are on there, especially when it's like a grandma.
Tagging, yeah.
Good job, Billy. I love you, Grandma. That's awesome. Number 2, Ansonia police warn of burglary attempts. And then the number 1 read story of the week is 2 men charged in downtown Shelton assault, something I think you published yesterday. I got to go next week. We should take a look at that warrant, or actually
court filing. Yeah,
they're probably not doing court. So when we get a because that's
I
a
think
bizarre
one has been. I think they both have. So yeah, it's something to track down.
One of the guys I recognized his mugshot. He had been arrested previously for now retired police officer Axon Jackson. That he had allegedly had some type of interaction with Action Jackson that led to a chase that ended in Derby. We had an article if you put his name through our search function. So anyway, thanks everybody for reading those. Were the top 5 stories of the week. Okay, so getting back to this article, we posted it on the Valley Indy Facebook page at some point Thursday morning. I can tell you exactly, actually, the magic of Facebook at 8:30 a.m. November 30th. And I guess
Friday morning.
Oh, what did I say?
Thursday.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Friday morning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you want to proceed, Ethan? Do we? I've been talking for.
Well, I guess
14 minutes straight. So I talked myself into a sewer here. I don't know what I'm doing.
As you said, we've got more blowback about this than either on the New Haven Independent Facebook page or their website. And we've gotten more I went back and the original post, the picture was posted by that person from the Young Democrats executive committee, and it was taken down. But then the head of the NAACP, Mr. Esdale, had taken a screenshot of it, and he had posted it on Facebook with the caption,
You checking
this
out?
picture is the newly elected, quote, board, unquote, of the CT Young Dems that were selected last night. See any problem with this photo? And that post is still up. And as far as I can tell, none of the people who've criticized the post on our page have, addressed any criticism to the Mr. Esdale directly. But it seems that their complaint is that, as noted in the Paul Bass story, the picture is not of the entire executive board. That it's just a picture of hey, who was around at the time? Let's take a picture and post it. And then the person took it down for whatever reason after the criticism came. But yeah, the general tenor of the complaints that we saw, I think, were that, Paul didn't basically do a fact check of Mr. Esdale's claim, Mr. Esdale's original claim. But later in the story, he notes that there were, 4 out of however many people on the executive committee are from are people of color, I think, or minorities.
Yeah, and so 45 minutes after we posted, there was a tweet, and I guess we invited. I don't think we should name people because we didn't invite them on. But I mean, they made the comment in public, so it doesn't matter. But I don't know. Either way, here we go. The first comment we had, or not the first, 45 minutes. This kind of summarizes one segment of the comments. This was actually on Twitter. This is an absolute garbage story, and I'm disappointed that you're pushing. So that was that. And I guess these are from Democrats, some of whom were involved in the local Young Democrats in the Naugatuck Valley. Going back to Facebook, the first comment was a quote, "When you're obsessed with diversity, you're just privileged white liberals." So that was from somebody who didn't like that. LOL, if that's diversification. I'm a monkey's uncle. Which, I don't know what he's trying to... Maybe I should hide that one. I don't know. Then James Lombard... I'm saying names. What the hell happened to the Democratic Party? Somebody else saying we need to protest a ban. I don't even know what that means. All right, then Bowen. Chris Bowen we invited onto the show, but he declined. But he said... okay, this is absolute crap. Just completely wrong. That's not the Connecticut Youth Democrats Executive Board, nor was that reported anywhere. I'm not sure what he means there, but it's literally just a picture of past and present CTYD members. The cardboard cutout of Obama and of Bernie Sanders, by the way, are basically mascots. They go everywhere. Trust me on this. I think the Obama one had to be repaired on numerous occasions. The actual e-board has numerous people of color on it. I do not know the exact numbers off the top. There are pictures from that same meeting somewhere. One of the points of that meeting was getting a diverse group of individuals involved. This is what happens when someone takes a random picture, takes it out of context, and applies bad faith. It sounds like you got your washing machine going again. I can't believe I'm wasting time correcting something that requires a damn phone call to correct. Then this does not appear to be racism. This is a group of people having a little fun by adding the previous Democratic president. I assume they added the president because they have respect and admiration for him. People complaining is absolute nonsense. Perhaps the Democratic Party leaders can do more to motivate their base rather than spend time on trash like this. Chris Bowen again, for what it's worth, and he posts a photo. This is from the same meeting. Not that most of you care. You all saw the headline. Went herp derp liberals, and that was that. Never let fact get in the way of a good story. And Gene/Ethan, you all... Ethan, there's like...
I'm sitting perfectly still here. Maybe I should...
Now you're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what that was. It started to get really loud. And Gene/Ethan, you all just blindly reposted this without verifying? What the hell? Now, okay. We should take another break here. Hey, this is Eugene, most likely interrupting myself to bring you a word from our sponsor, valleygivesback.org. What will you be remembered for? Name a Valley nonprofit in your estate plan and create a legacy that tells future generations what matter to you. Making a gift that costs nothing during your lifetime is easy and revocable if things change. With a planned gift, you have the power to impact the Valley forever without affecting your current lifestyle. Your action inspires others to make a difference in their own way. Remember the Valley. Ask your accountant, financial planner, or attorney about planned giving options. Plan now. Give later. Impact tomorrow. Learn more at valleygivesback.org. But this is from our own journalism organization. It's the mother site of ours, so we're not going to do our own reporting. It's been vetted. The article's been vetted. Just to sort of correct that point, that were blindly reposted without verifying. And also, I think that, as more I read these angry comments from people, did they read the story?
Yeah, I think part of the issue was that in this, I posted it, and like a whole comment thread went. You went a little troll. On my own personal page.
Yeah, your own personal page. You went to Ethan troll mode. Just you just wrote the word embarrassing.
Well, I think that's accurate, and I defend it. But I think part of the issue, and like this came up, was that the before Bass wrote about it, or at the same time, I don't know what the exact timestamps on the stories were, but Hartford Courant reporter had written about it too, and I guess people also had issues with that story, and I think they were sort of conflating the reporting in that story and
reacting to the current story and not exactly the story we posted or the one that you and I had.
Because I said, I've just read Paul's story and I don't see any glaring issues. Can you point one out? And the person was like, oh, it's better than the current story. So they were just upset that the story was written at all. That's what
it's
like if the head of the NAACP comes out and has an issue,
bury it.
That's whether he's right or wrong or whatever. That's news,
Right? Yeah. You were supposed to just. I guess Bass was just supposed to completely ignore that. And the thing is, now I'll go back into the story. I read it once without any kind of editorial comment, but there's the lead, which is 3 graphs long, where you learn that these guys posted a photo with Barack Obama. It was clearly becoming the talk of Facebook because I encountered a post on Facebook about it, and I'm not following New Haven politics or what the Young Democrats in the state are up to or the NAACP. It's sort of off my radar because it's not local. But the state NAACP president called the Democratic Party racist. Indicative of, quote, clear racism going on in the Democratic Party. That came out of the guy's mouth. I mean, and then Paul goes into the background where, and this is all stuff, this was all, he puts context. This is not just a fake outrage story. You could certainly have your opinion saying that the NAACP president is just practicing in fake outrage here. Okay. But the writer goes into it, Bass goes into some context here. And this was completely missed. And he goes in, I did not know this. I'm that U.S. Representative Hayes, they people had in the Democratic Party had a problem with her right off the bat. And I'm not saying I'm agreeing that anybody's racist here, but clearly this is not something that just popped up overnight. There is a division. Also, there's a division among the head of the NAACP and members of the Democratic Party. There's infighting going on. That's news. You may not like that that's news. That's news. You know, I didn't. Everybody jumps to, and people just jump to, I don't like that story, therefore suppress it. Like, the First Amendment is good. Everyone loves the First Amendment until you're offended. And then it's shut down the presses. That story's garbage. And garbage story. I'm disappointed you're pushing it. Like we're peddling heroin.
Well, like last summer, there was, during the primary process, probably the biggest fight in the Democratic ticket. Like, basically, there wasn't a lot of early scrapping and jockeying, but then it was basically Lamont by acclamation. But there was a pretty bitter fight between Susan Beisowitz and Ava Bermuda Zimmerman. And Ava Bermuda Zimmerman's main critique was like, where's all the diversity on the top of this ticket? And she fundraised in Ansonia. She had a fundraiser attended by some of the people who made some of these comments, which was surprising to me because this has been an issue as Bass went into in his story about this. The sort of percolating diversity issue among Connecticut Democrats.
Yeah, it's an underlying issue.
And it's like a perennial national issue as well that, Trump tried to capitalize on it during his campaign. What do you have to lose? He famously said, so it doesn't just come out of the blue here,
Yeah, and I just felt like some of the comments, I just thought they were reading a different story because I came in as just an observer. You know what I mean? I didn't write this story, so because normally I get all bent out of shape when somebody accuses me of bias, but this isn't our story.
Yeah. And that's the other thing.
And sometimes, you know what? I'll see like a New Haven Independent story, which New Haven. Let's face it, it's a liberal city. We have much more diversity in our political spectrum here in the Valley. So there's certain stories I'll see on the New Haven Independent. I'm like, I'm not putting on the Valley Facebook page. I do not need to, and that's not going anywhere near the Valley Facebook page today. Thank you very much. So this was just.
Yeah, and like I guess, if you're being a real stickler, you could say that like it could have higher up in the story that it could have been noted that the 4 out of 9 executive board members were people of color or whatever. But no news story ever written is perfect, and like it's basically an extended brief, as we said. So I can't.
Yeah, and I guess I would counter that
with it too much that.
And people get upset. We're talking about people's lives. Some of the people that were commenting on our site, one of them was in the photo, so he's close to the fire. So he's going to have a different take on it because I'm assuming it might have caused him pain. So that's one thing. So, but going from a writer's standpoint and structuring the story, you want to get people through the story.
I didn't realize that person was in the. I didn't realize that person was in the photo. I'm just seeing the photo now.
Yeah.
I do. Okay.
So,
that makes sense that he was sort of upset about it, I guess.
So the way that story was structured, I thought it would have been jarring to put. It would have been confusing to put the 4 of the 9. Because you had to get through the statements of the NAACP, then go in. Wait, what's going? Because my reaction was like, what? I thought what is going on here? But then Bass put those comments and then provided context, and then it went back into I don't know. It was sort of the old school inverted pyramid. I thought. I don't know. I didn't find it absolutely insane. But we should go back to the comments because Other people did. Because I replied to Bowen when he said, are we blindly posting without verifying, which just is not accurate at all. But I said it's a news story. I have no qualms sharing it. And then he said the news story was a crock of crap. And then I just pointed out the leader of the NAACP infighting with Democrats weeks after an election is news, whether you like it or not. And I expressed my opinion. I thought there was context in that story. I wasn't uncomfortable sharing my opinions really on this one because I didn't write it. I didn't edit it.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with it. I just saw it like the rest of the planet on the New Haven Independent.
And that's like where my using the word embarrassing, like this is weeks after a historically triumphal election. And they should just be rolling, and be picking up steam. And instead there's infighting about a picture with an Obama cutout. And like that's, and it's mentioned in the first quote, I think, in Bass's story from the NAACP president, or the third quote. And it like, which according to him, he heard about it because everybody had been texting it to him. So this, I mean, it's not some manufactured Paul Bass outrage, I don't think.
Yeah, if anything,
it looks like the only black they could find is a cardboard Obama. That's the perception of it. Like,
perception, yeah, exactly.
As much as we may not want this to be the fact, perception is a big part of politics,
right?
And this proves it.
And like it or not, there is, water cooler talk is now, it goes on Facebook. And you had people, according to Bass's reporting, as quoted from by the head of the NAACP, he was hearing a lot about it. So it was, and I came across it. So it was definitely something that was going around. Now, one point being that's not the executive board, and the president of the NAACP mistakenly said that. That was completely wrong because it wasn't. Those are just people posing for a photo, right? Mm-hmm. But Bass's article doesn't say that at the beginning, and it clarifies throughout as you get down further. I think we might have already mentioned this: who's in the photo and who is not. So I thought it was solid journalism, but Bowen goes on and he says, "Say the NAACP screwed up." This is a common theme when people get mad at stories. Some guy saw one picture and opened his fat mouth to push his own agenda, and good friends of mine ended up in a crossfire, exacerbated by your one-click post. I think these are people that are pretty connected to this, but as an observer, again, there's a clear division. You've got, a local Democrat guy calling the head of the NAACP a fat mouth. Which is, I thought it clearly seems that like the NAACP and the Young Democrats statewide have to sit down and have a powwow about this, and they have stuff to sort out. That's news. That this tension bubbled up again is news. I'm sorry, people. That I have no qualms about sharing that story. I think it was absolutely news. And then like even reading the comments, and I just love that this is all learning experience for me going down. Rick Dunn, Derby resident, had said, Scott X started this crap, but this has been going on for years. The liberal coalition eats its young, literally in this case. I think that most Dems agree that the minority community...
Not literally, but that notwithstanding.
Yeah, no one, thanks for pointing that out. It's good comment. Nobody was actually, no flesh was consumed.
This isn't North Sentinel Island.
Oh, yeah. It took me a minute. Yeah. Oh, that story is just...
It's a callback.
Oh, that story is just incredible. Okay, I think that most Dems agree, this is Rick Dunn again, that the minority community has a legit gripe about the old guard in the Democratic Party taking them for granted throughout the years. But these young Dems are not the people to aim your fire at, Scott. Yes, our new young Democratic Party strives for diversity and representation. Witness the people actually at the table. But this is a party where people are now rewarded based on the content of their character, not based on tokenism. We can leave that publicity con to the Republican Party. Welcome to the Democratic Party of 2018, where you don't have to complain about not having a seat at the table, Scott, because no one is stopping you from earning one. If you deserve a seat, if you're the best, the brightest, the hardest working, you can be a leader of today's Democratic Party if you want to be. No one is holding anyone back. I am proud to call myself a liberal and a member of the Connecticut Democratic Party. You should be too. So I thought that was a different take on it. And again, I guess I just get disappointed when the first reaction is, that's garbage. You suck.
Shoot the messenger.
Exactly. And it shoot, like, we're like the indirect messenger here. We're like the shoot the messenger's water boy. Whoa. It was 8:30 in the morning. I would just say, this is something that happened. Anyway.
Yeah. And like, to your point about, sharing your one-click post or the whatever, not your point,
Chris Bowen.
the person who put Bowen's point, I think it would be like, how could we not share that? I think it's important I think if we didn't post that, I think people could call us out for not doing it. So,
well, I think you could say, hey, I mean, what we post from outside the Naugatuck Valley is totally random on our Facebook page. A lot of it has to do with, I don't know, we got anything going on this week? It was slow. Like I said earlier, we weren't doing a lot of reporting. There's a bunch of stories. We have like a million stories we have not gotten to. As soon as I get some new medication or see a doctor, I'll deal with my depression and freaking write some stories. So you could say, I saw the story and it was juicy,
Yeah.
It was newsworthy.
It does.
Juicy,
Two of the people pictured are from the Naugatuck Valleys. I mean, they're not named in either Bass's or the current story that I know of. But
yeah. Well, what I thought
that's some more context.
What was so you're right, but that had nothing to do with why I posted it.
Right.
I just thought it was interesting because usually, there's that. I think the most famous one, I guess, is Paul Ryan and all the interns, and it's just. Just a sea of white of white folks, and
that's another meme that I've seen that constantly over the past couple of weeks is the side by side of the freshman members of the Democratic congressional, whatever the next Congress is, and the freshman members of the Republicans, and it's the same comparison. There's a lot more people of color in the Democrats than there are in the Republicans.
And I just thought, like, because I had seen the same thing you did, I had seen somebody post sort of correcting the initial post, right? One of the guys in the photo was like, hey, look, this is not what this guy says it is. And I'm like, oh, it must have been some right-wing dude tried to, co-opt the Democrats in the way that they've used that Paul Ryan intern photo. And then I click on it, and I'm like, oh, let me just Google this guy. Who's this? It's the head of the NAACP is doing this. Whoa, wait, that's news right there, So
yeah, and I see it was on Capitol Report, so I'm sure that
good chick,
got some eyeballs on it as well.
And it comes down to it a lot of times is like whenever you see a bunch of people saying this isn't news, it's always news.
Right. Yeah,
but.
And when somebody says this is a big deal, chances are it's probably
right.
not.
Yeah, this is a big deal is never a big deal. The mayor's going to be there. But I guess, is there anything else you wanted to add? I didn't mean to like kind of monopolize that. You actually had probably more interaction and more stuff going on your Facebook page. But I wasn't sure
and I
if
thought
it's
that's
fair
the
to
way I
bring that
left
up.
it. Is that it's like as we went back and forth, like all the points people were making, it just struck me that the real criticism people would be with the original guy
the guy who said it,
NAACP president, and B the president of the Young Dems who called it the cutout picture embarrassing. And I forget, I just had it up here.
No, it's a good point, though.
Tone deaf and embarrassing. That's the leader of your own organization. And then one of the people who complained is like, oh, well, she shouldn't have said that. It's like, well, I mean,
that's
you
what
can't
happened.
Criticize Paul for reporting it faithfully.
You can't say it's the journalist's fault for calling up somebody and they said, they gave a reaction that you didn't like. But yeah, I don't know.
Then,
it scares me a little bit that people just run right to, But I guess we're all human, and social media, we have immediate reactions. And God bless America that we can have these fights in the open like we are without having to worry yet of guys coming to our door to drag us away.
And people are always, the fact that we could have this back and forth, is healthy, I think, in the long run. I just hope that it's not just because you see so much of it nationally, just talking over or past one another. But I think it's always important to try to put yourself in the other person's shoes, which doesn't happen enough probably with any of us. I think we could all improve on that count.
Yeah, and I thought a great point was sort of I'm just giving myself a compliment. Sorry, I should edit that out. But somebody said on your thread, like, how would you like it if I said the Valley Indy doesn't value diversity because you got two white guys, reporting, and then I just shared a photo of one of you or something like that. And people have said that to us. That's been said. I mean, we've been accused of being, not diverse in a lot of ways. And it's something like and I kind of said there, I was like, look, we stink at covering the diversity in Ansonia and Derby. I've said that for a long time. It's like that's the one thing we seem to constantly fail at. Every time there's some type of not even controversy, I've reached out and I've tried to improve, but we're just not that good at it. So I would just acknowledge it. You can't start fighting with the person. Like, you just have to, I don't know, be human. Try.
Yeah,
I guess.
I would. I said I would only I draw a distinction between a statewide political organization and a two-person hyperlocal newsroom. But you're always anybody's always free to criticize, and it's something we're aware of.
Ain't nobody perfect. Yeah, and also it is one of those things. It happens all the time now. Is like we're just reporting on a story, and then it's like, well, how would you feel? That's not okay. You can ask that question, but I'm here just to sort of bring this to light. Not really, There's a lot of things I read about that I don't agree with any of it, but I don't know, the will of the people and the will of the community, and that's that. Oh, you know what I should have said at the beginning? We should end this podcast by just putting in the audio from the Hops Company meeting I attended. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll just we'll end this podcast by this is the Hops Company. I started to do last week just a solo podcast about the Hops Company, sort of explaining the issue and going over what happened at the meeting. But I recorded and stopped so many times. It just was driving me insane because it's a tough issue, because I think you look on our Facebook page and people are like, neighbors suck, shut up, and then you go to the meetings and the neighbors are like, shut it, no. But it's much more complicated than that, I don't. Yeah. It's, there's that whole concept of pre-existing non-conforming uses and, it was made that way for a reason, and somewhere along the line, the Valley's this community that values tradition, and zoning is a tradition in a lot of ways, and I don't know, there's a lot to it. I don't think there's any complete right or wrong in what's going on there, but I know if you don't know what I'm talking about, this makes no sense, but I almost don't want to go on for another 10 minutes in going over all the background. So I was just going to play the public portion part from that meeting where ultimately, basically the owner of the Hops Company had, through his lawyer, proposed a development district that would have cleared a hurdle and allowed him allowed him to submit a site plan to make major changes to his site, to his property. But the P&Z wasn't comfortable with what had been proposed. So are you okay? Did you fall?
No, I just leaned back in my chair.
So ultimately what happened was the P&Z said no, but I'm hearing they're going to take up their own district.
Okay, that was my one question was like, does the guy threaten to up stakes and leave, or is there going to be a negotiation?
I don't think. I mean, I haven't heard that. I haven't confirmed a couple of things, so I'm hesitant to. I heard there was some challenging of my reporting, but I never heard directly from the source that might have said we screwed something up. And I asked a third party because I was like, you were there and you heard this. We heard the same thing. And that person said, yeah. So I think the planning and zoning commission chairman, he said after the meeting they're going to revisit this, and that's a process that'll start to come up with their own development district of some kind, and maybe perhaps down the road they'll be able to submit a site plan and do what they can. But I'm being completely non-committal there. I don't know on a.
Yeah. I mean,
there's too much involved for me to start.
I don't think I've covered this at all, but it seems. I mean, if I to offer an opinion, it seems that like the people worried about the guy's proposal is that if we allow this, then it's allowed forever, whereas traditionally with the pre-existing non-conforming use, once that person who's using it ends the use, then it's back to whatever the zone is. And if they could,
which is residential here,
they say, hey, could you get more parking on it until it's done with your use, and then it'll go back to residential. That seems like a compromise that might be fruitful. But of course, this was a pre-existing non-conforming use before this current owner had it, and
right.
It survived somehow. So it just seems like a thorny issue over there.
Exactly. And you and I were there, full disclosure, a few weeks ago to celebrate your birthday, I think, ostensibly, right? Isn't that what it was?
Yeah, it was a couple weeks or a week afterward, yeah.
It was busy. It was definitely busy.
No, yeah, and like one of my friends was, from, Park Slope, like the coolest place in the universe right now, and like texted me the next day like, oh, what a great place that was. And it's like, well, they might not be there long, so enjoy it while you can.
Yeah, no, I mean, I did ask Dominic Thomas, the Hops Company attorney. He said they're going to continue to do what they're doing, which is being wildly successful. Just there's no.
And then, like by the same token, we were at a function, non-related function, but somebody who lives in the neighborhood just happened to approach us and say how terrible it is, and they literally sold their house because of that.
Yeah, and that wasn't somebody who was like hired by any. That was somebody who really volunteered that to you and I. That's right. You heard that too. That's why I was like, ooh, yeah. And that person never came to any meetings. Didn't weigh in either way, but was definitely credible. So that's that.
Online 8079 Sunset Drive. Derby. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. All right.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
I was told I can't talk today, so I won't talk about the hops.
Okay, you can talk about whatever you want.
I'll talk about the zone change.
Okay.
I'm here to please don't change that zone. Because once we start, you open up the Pandora's box, and the city of Derby can be in big trouble. So that's all. I just say, please don't do this spot changing, please. Sit down and do it the proper way. If it takes a year, it takes a year. The hops can wait. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, John.
Would anybody else from the public like to address the commission at this time? Anyone else? Go ahead. As long as you don't talk about the hops.
No problem. Steve Ponzillo, 32 Bellevue Drive. I'm not too familiar with all the bylaws, rules, regulations, all that stuff, but apparently the zoning board is to look out for the city and what's in its best interest and for the residents, correct? For building the base for some tax-based income to help the city and everybody in it. When these decisions are made, whether it's in the past or in the future, people come up here, and I was told to come in and put your opinion in, but in the past that I've been in the last few meetings, they just seem to be empty words and just noise. The concern of the citizens aren't taken seriously. The noise, traffic, property value. And we're told, well, the property value and the traffic safeties and whatever impacts that area is not on the board's agenda. But when you make the decision, that's on you to ask whoever's making the application to give you that information. And when people are asking these questions that apparently impact them and their neighborhood, that should have some weight. Now, if I'm speaking by myself on this, it's one thing. But when 99% of the people from that area have same concerns, that should be taken seriously. Yes or no? Do you agree?
Steve, you're not really supposed to speak on this
I'm not
application.
speaking on that. This is
You
in
are.
general.
No, you are. Okay, and I'll just say one thing to you. You said for the last few months, nobody's
Yeah.
listened to you. When we deliberated last month, if you paid attention to our deliberations, we brought up meetings and exactly who said what and what people's concerns were verbatim. So I disagree with you on that. We listened to you. So if you have anything to talk about a zone change in general, like Mr. Lionetti said, fine. If you're going to talk about THC and people
I'm not
listening and
speaking
stuff,
about that, because these are zone changes that you.
thank you. Is there anybody else from the public who would like to address the commission at
Oh,
this
no,
time?
okay.
Because you can't. You can't. I'm giving
I'm
you
talking
leeway
about
and
in the
you're,
past. The
I'm
ones
giving
in
you
the past, you did
leeway
the
and
same thing.
you're abusing it.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Would anybody else from the commission and from the public like to address the commission
Yeah,
at this
empty
time?
words.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt.
Empty words.
Anybody else? Okay. Okay. Contrary to popular belief, we beat this to death last month. I mean, we brought up times, dates, what people's concerns were, what people said, and we were even quoted as a commission that it's one of the hardest applications we had because we were taking public opinion into consideration, despite what some people from the public feel. So, right now, I had our engineer, planner, draw a couple of motions. One was an approval, one was a denial, just because we had to lay it all out on the table. So I asked them if their approval, what we have in front of us is not worth approving. So I ended up back with 4 pages of modifications to the proposed text change, which has more deletions and corrections than it did substance in what was originally brought in front of us. So clearly, that's not the path of this Planning and Zoning Commission and what, especially with our planning hats of what we want to take. Also brought up during our deliberations was there's other areas in this town which we think a PDD zone might apply. And Al brought it up when he took Shelton's regulations and brought it in, which were pretty cumbersome, but if we cut it down where they actually went into each zone and had setback requirements, lot sizes, et cetera, there was more meat to it, which I think this commission was pretty much all in agreement that that's the route we should take. If we're gonna do something, we wanna do something for the entire town, know what certain parcels that we're gonna need this for, besides the one that was presented to us by THC. So, and in the same meeting, we approved an application for a PDD zone in downtown Derby, which they pretty much showed us the site plans in the CBD zone. So if we approve this, that's the way it stands, or with all these modifications, that would be 2 PDD zones. Even though it applies to other areas in town, it's not exactly what we're looking for. So I think it's fair to say that an approval with all that is not what the commission's looking for. Okay, so I also had a denial, which is in your packet, but I just wanted to say something because, you know, just writing it short and sweet and to the point. After much deliberation, it's apparent that the Planning and Zoning feels strongly the need for some sort of PDD zone in Derby. However, this one that's proposed by THC, in our opinion, is way too broad in nature, okay? It doesn't contain enough specific details that would apply to each individual zone throughout the city, which Al brought up, okay, and a lot of members from the public. We feel that it's in best interest for the city of Derby that we deny this application submitted, and that the additions, deletions, and corrections that have been noted through the public hearing process and through our own deliberations are way too cumbersome to modify the existing proposed zoning regulation text change, and not in the best interest of good planning and zoning practices. So that's just something I want to say, and it goes towards Mr. Lionetti, who said, look, if you're going to do something and it's going to affect the town, and other members from the public brought that up, then take your time and do it right. Al, you brought that up too, and Rich, you brought it up, and Dave, and Raul and Cynthia, that look, this is too broad and it doesn't have enough, it doesn't accomplish enough for us, especially for a zone text change that does affect the entire town. And also in taking into the consideration a lot of the public opinion that they were heard and their concerns were heard and addressed by this commission, even though to this night they don't think they were, but they were. If anybody paid attention, forget the public hearing when the people were just speaking, when we deliberated and the public wasn't part of the discussion, we brought up a lot of points that were brought up by the public through the public hearing. That's why we have a public hearing process, so all this is brought out to our attention, and we took into consideration. Okay? Did I miss anything?
No, you said it
Rich,
basically.
Dave?
No.
Okay.
Pretty
Okay.
much it all was.
Enough said. Tired of talking. Okay. So, the Hops Company LLC has made an application to amend the Derby zoning regulations by adding a new section 195-16A, Derby Development District, to encourage and accommodate unique and desirable development that will be consistent with long-range, orderly development of an area, but is not accommodated by established conventional zoning of the area by virtue of use, including nonconformities, and/or area, location, and bulk standards, and/or need for adaptive reuse. Such DDD shall be used in areas where there are existing commercial uses or transitional areas where residential and commercial are abutting. Following review of the plans and supporting documentation submitted in support of this application, the Planning and Zoning Commission hereby denies the application by the Hops LLC to amend the zoning regulations to enable the creation of a Derby Development District, since the Commission finds that the proposed amendment is not consistent with the recommendations contained in the Derby Plan of Conservation Development and is inconsistent with the Comprehensive Plan of Zoning and does not promote the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Yes. Yes. That's what I said. Okay. I move that.
All right. Anything else you want to add, Ethan? How'd you do in this year's turkey race there, the Commodore Hall race?
I was 83rd last year, and I think I was 84th this year, but I got a better time. So.
Oh, nice! Congratulations.
Swings and roundabouts, and like only a handful of teenagers and like 10-year-olds beat me this time. So, and I beat Loretti. So that's my baseline goal, as always.
I love that Mayor Loretti is like, we mention him whenever we can, and he doesn't even know who we are. He's no idea.
He approached me at the start.
Oh, did he?
Line, and he gave me our annual fist bump. Yeah,
he did the fist bump. He doesn't try to trip you or not. Does anybody boo you? Did you see anybody else that is local that ran by or anything? Did you try to get in their head or anything way?
No, not that. Like I checked.
Cheater? Was Mike there? Was Mike? Was Nietzsche there? The Nietzsche?
Oh, I didn't see him, but I don't know
if he runs it.
I don't think he runs. I think Rory, Kurt Miller's assistant. I beat him. I know that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Check that. And I'm forgetting, but there's a handful. Jack Walsh doesn't run, but he was there. Longtime friend of the Valley Indy.
And that race was like his baby,
Yeah, he ran. He pretty much started it and ran it until a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And the winner overall was Ansonia's Tim Milenkovic, who was a multiple-time winner, but he lost last year. I think he clearly, trained this year and came back to take the crown and did. And then the female winner was Lauren Flement. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She's another multiple-time winner. And it's just like, it's ridiculous because you run and you're going as fast as you can. And then you finish and you're all proud of yourself. And it's like, a guy my age ran it 10 minutes less than I did. So
I've seen that guy running on Hawthorne Avenue. He's like, he runs as fast as a car.
Yeah, just unbelievable.
Yeah. All right. So that was this week's navel gazing. We've probably managed to make angry the last 2 or 3 people that actually liked us.
We'll never have another podcast guest again.
No, come on.
No.
Am I young enough
See you next
to
week.
believe in revolution? Am I strong enough to get down on my knees and pray? Am I high enough on the chain of evolution to respect myself, my brother and my sister, and perfect myself in my own peculiar way? I get lazy and forget my obligations. I'd go crazy if I paid attention all the time, and I want justice, but I'll settle for some mercy on this holy road to the universal mind? Am I young enough to believe in revolution? Am I strong enough to get down on my knees and pray? Am I high enough on the chain of evolution to perfect myself, my brother and my sister, and respect myself in my own peculiar way? I got lucky. I got everything I wanted. I got happy. There wasn't nothing else to do, and I'd be crazy not to wonder if I'm worthy of the part I play in the dream that's coming true. Am I young enough to believe in revolution? Am I strong enough to get down on my knees and pray? And am I wild enough in my own imagination to respect myself and my brother and my sister, and perfect myself in my own peculiar way? Thank you.